Good morning, welcome back to my channel. This is MeMe, of course, and if you're new here, we are leaving Medellin. Obviously, we're at the airport, and guess what? We got sick again. We got sick again, so both my partner and I, we were stuck in bed all day on our last day in Medellin. So sad, but that's life. These things happen. Getting sick in a foreign country is not fun at all, but I'm grateful that we were able to come to Medellin and we had a great time regardless. If you've been watching the Colombia series, you know that this is not the first time that we got sick on this trip. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the Colombian food, the Medellin food, or if it's my stomach, or a combination of both. But like I said, it is what it is. Today is Sunday. We are leaving Medellin. We had such a great time, but I do have a lot of thoughts that I want to share with you about this trip that I wasn't able to share while we were on our adventures. So it's a crazy idea, but I'm gonna try and share those thoughts with you while I'm in the airport, while we're heading to Curacao from Medellin. You should definitely watch this entire video before you travel to Medellin, because I'm going to be giving you a lot of insight. First things first, let's check into this flight and then we'll continue this conversation in just a few. Alright, we're all checked in. God knows why we're so early for our flight. I think we just wanted to be on the safe side and beat the crowd, if anything. But the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is the people of Medellin. Here are a few adjectives that I would use to describe the people of Medellin. Positive, warm, friendly, patient, helpful, hustlers. They're always trying to sell you something. These people, they know how to hustle. Every street you'll find that there's somebody selling something, whether it's candy or souvenirs or food or whatever it is. They're always hustling and they're very aggressive with it. You know, they will blatantly come up to you and be like, buy this from me, or you know what I mean? Yeah, they're just very straightforward. Most times not disrespectful, but very much in your face. So expect that. But they're really, really, really nice people. They're very helpful people. Uber drivers, people in the airport, securities, people in restaurants. I really love the people of Medellin. They're very warm and they make you feel welcomed, you know? The people of Medellin are called paisas. And paisas are very proud people. They love their city and they're super proud. They welcome tourists and they're happy to have visitors in their city, and you will feel that warmth and that welcoming spirit. Now, mind you, I obviously can't speak for every paisa, but certainly all the people that I encountered throughout my trip, if they are any representation of how paisas are in general, then they made a very good impression. Really nice people. I mean, as with every other country, of course I've come across a few indifferent people here and there, but the percentage of the ones that are good and warm and sweet and kind and helpful is overwhelmingly greater. We're basically at our gate. We're just trying to make sure that we stay close to a bathroom just in case, you know what I mean? Yeah. Before I go any further, I had mentioned this in a previous video, just to remind you guys that the people of Medellin, like I said, they're called paisas. The paisas refer to Medellin as Medellin. They have a very strong accent, yeah? So not Medellin, not Medellin, Medellin. Just like how they say maracuja. It's pronounced, or it's spelled like maracuya. As an English speaker, that's how you would want to pronounce it, because it has a Y in it. Maracuya is it's passion fruit in Spanish, but paisas say maracuja, so it's Medellin. Let's talk about the weather. Medellin is known as the land of the eternal spring. The city is located in a valley and it has perfect weather. Hold on, let this plane take off. Like I said before, I have experienced perfect weather the entire time I was here. I did observe in other YouTube videos that I watched that it can rain quite a bit here, but I guess I would say that August is the best time to come to Medellin because I experienced no rain whatsoever. It was never really too hot or too cold. There are times that it got very windy and quite chilly. For example, when we went to San Felix, which is like all the way up in the hills, and where we stayed in El Poblado was also also in the hilly parts of El Poblado, so it did get a little bit chilly, but nothing too cold, nothing too hot. The weather was absolutely perfect while I was here. So for context, none of the Airbnbs I stayed in had air conditioning. I stayed in El Poblado and I also stayed in Laureles. Both of my Airbnbs each had a fan and we never had to use a fan. I'm the type of person who gets very cold very quickly, very easily. So there were times in the early mornings or in the late evenings when I would get really chilly. So when I'm going to bed, I would cover up under the sheets, but then perhaps midway through the night, I would find myself feeling warm. So I would eventually remove the sheets. So the weather, the temperature here in Medellin, perfect. I will say it can get a little bit warm, especially if you're in the flat areas. So for example, Laureles is more or less flat compared to El Poblado. It can get a bit warm, but it doesn't stay that way for long. And like I said, it tends to get pretty windy as well. There is a lot of greenery, a lot of trees all throughout Laureles. I love that community. You guys, if you haven't seen previous videos where I shared with you some of the streets in Laureles, definitely go ahead and check it out. There are fruit trees on every street. Like you can literally walk and pick fruit off the trees, as long as they're in like public spaces, of course. And I guess it's attributable to the fact that the city is located in a valley. But since we're on the topic of El Poblado and Laureles, let's go ahead and talk about accommodation. You can find very good and affordable accommodation in both El Poblado and Laureles. Like I mentioned, I stayed in both areas and both Airbnbs, I love them. El Poblado, I mentioned in a previous video, is extremely touristy. There are a lot of hotels, Airbnbs, nightclubs, restaurants, a lot of excitement going on. I stayed in the hills of El Poblado, so I wasn't too close to all the excitement, but still close enough to take a 6 or 8 minute Uber drive to wherever I was going. Most tourists tend to stay in El Poblado, and for good reason. It's very convenient. Everything is there. Like everything you could possibly need as a visitor while you're on vacation is in El Poblado. Food, entertainment, activities, it's all there. You have access to Parqueyeras, which is in one of those areas that has crazy nightclub energy, a lot of music, a lot of excitement, if you're into that kind of thing. And if you don't mind being in a very touristy area, then El Poblado is perfect for you. Now, Laureles is also a little bit touristy, but not as touristy as El Poblado. It's a little bit more on the quieter side. When I was staying in El Poblado, there was a bit of noise. It's not going to be the most quiet area to stay in. Laureles does offer you a little bit more of a relaxing energy, a little bit more of a relaxing, chill, homey, residential vibe. One of the restaurants close to where I'm sitting started playing some music, so I'm gonna move, but I'm just waiting for my partner to come back from the restroom. So hold that thought. Yeah, hopefully it's a little bit less noisy here. We don't want to get copywritten, and I really want to give you guys this information. So we were talking about accommodation and El Poblado versus Laureles. Well, not versus, right? It's either or. Both are very, very good areas to stay in when you're in Medellin. Now, as it relates to the Airbnbs I stayed in, definitely go check out my previous videos to see the Airbnb tours. But I really appreciate the effort that was put into the decor. Even in, for example, some of the restaurants and some of the cafes that we went into. Let's just say Paisas, they have style. The decor was noticeably very impressive. I really like the use of space. My first Airbnb, it was a very tiny apartment in El Poblado, but they made very good use of space, and I had everything I needed in both Airbnbs. I had a washing machine, I had a full kitchen, no complaints. So you can definitely find some really nice Airbnbs in both areas, as well as I'm certain that they're also really good hotels if you prefer to have a hotel experience rather than an Airbnb. But the Airbnbs, no complaints whatsoever. So again, El Poblado is vibrant, loud, energetic, full of vibes, and is also known as the upper class area in Medellin. Laureles is more middle to upper class, and it gives you more of a residential vibe. So depending on what you're looking for, what your style is, you choose. Another honorable mention I'd like to make is Envigado, only because I've heard that it's also an option for areas to stay when you're in Medellin. I didn't stay in Envigado, and unfortunately I wasn't able to visit the area to see what the area looks like and also show you what it looks like, but do some research. That's also another option. Now let's talk about safety. I felt safe in every corner of this city. El Poblado, day and night. Laureles, day and night. San Felix, the city center, Guatapé, Peñol, every single area of this city that I went to, I never once felt like I needed to put away my phone or my valuables. I mean, obviously, you're taking the necessary precautions that you would usually take in every other and any other city or country in this world. Of course, we're not being reckless, we're being careful, we're being cautious. But outside of the regular due diligence, no issues, not once. I felt extremely safe in Medellin. And I feel like the people of Medellin, they also make you feel safe. You know, Comuna 13, they stress, you know, our community is safe. We want you here. You are welcome here. You are safe here. And I love that. Believe me, I have walked many streets both day and night. I have been in some super crowded spaces. The first time I went to Comuna 13, yes, the first time, because I had to go twice to get the real experience that I wanted. But the first time I went to Comuna 13, that crowd, I was so scared that if something was to happen, like an emergency or something, that there would be a stampede and everyone would get hurt because it was really that crowded. I felt uncomfortable, not because I didn't feel safe, but because I kept thinking that if there was an emergency. Let's pause for the airport announcement. Yes, so the crowd in Comuna 13, I was uncomfortable because I felt like if there was an emergency, everybody would get hurt because it was really that crowded. But what I'm trying to say is, even in such a huge crowd, both in Comuna 13 and when I went to Tierra de la Flores, guys, you have to check out those videos if you haven't watched them yet. I had so much fun. But Tierra de la Flores, where all the paisas come out for this huge flower festival in August, I never felt unsafe or like I would have been in danger or anything like that. And I think one of the main reasons I feel so safe is because of how welcoming the paisas are. They really make you feel safe. One place that paisas will actually tell you to not venture or to be very careful is the city center. I did go to the city center. I went in the daytime, and I've been told by paisas that try not to wander in the city center during the night because that area gets a little crazy, a little bit more crazy than you would want to experience firsthand. When I went to the city center, it kind of reminded me of downtown Kingston, and I would give the same advice to, I'm from Jamaica, by the way, if you're new to this channel, welcome. But it's the same advice. Ooh, is the plane taking off? Un momento. So yeah, I was saying that the city center in Medellin reminds me of downtown Kingston. When I was there, it felt like a downtown Kingston. I got that vibe, and I would give the same advice to a tourist coming to Kingston as the paisas did regarding the city center in Medellin. So, you know, that's the only place where locals will tell you to be extremely careful. And like I said, I didn't go there in night, so I didn't experience it firsthand, but in the daytime it was quite fine. A lot of tourists were there, and we didn't really stay there for long. We just did a little bit of sightseeing in Plaza Botero. Again, go check those videos out, and then we were out. So it was just a quick trip. So to close out the conversation about safety in Medellin, the only place I saw a lot of police, really, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't see a lot of police throughout the entire city, but the only place I saw a lot of police was in El Poblado, and specifically on that street where you have Parque Lleras and all those nightclubs and excitement. But outside of that, this city is a safe city. So if you're thinking of coming to Medellin, listen, for a city that has historically been known as one of the most dangerous places in the world, this place has truly transformed and is a beautiful place to visit, a beautiful place to vacation, and I highly recommend it. I need to go get some souvenirs. I have a few Colombian pesos left and I want to finish them before I leave the country, so let's go see if we can find some souvenirs for people back home in Jamaica, and then we'll get back to this conversation. daytime. And we are boarding now. But the next thing I want to talk about is transportation. Easy, easy, easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, so one word, Uber. The funny thing is though, it's illegal in Medellin. I don't know why. I really should have asked one of the locals why it's illegal here, if they know, because they're told it's illegal, but it's so accessible and it's so efficient. You can get Uber wherever you want to go. You'll find that some of the Uber drivers will ask you to sit in the front, or if there's some police in the area, they will park a little bit further away from your pickup point because they're trying to avoid the police. But it's so accessible. I just can't understand why it's illegal. It's so weird, and so many people operate Uber in Medellin. However, depending on where you're going, there's taxis, there are metro cables, there are trains. You can even order a taxi through the Uber app, which I've never seen in any other country. Sometimes taxis are even more affordable than Ubers, but transportation is very easy and very accessible. Buenos. Gracias. All right, so we are on to boarding. Abordando. I personally have taken all of the modes of transportation with the exception of the public bus service. I haven't been on a bus, but the metro cable ride was very nice going up to Parque RV. We've taken the train to Comuna 13. That was an experience. And then of course the Ubers and the taxis. So transportation here is very easy. Lady's poncho has a hoodie. I like her outfit. And we have found it. Ooh, my boarding pass fell. Yes. Alright. Yeah, the row is tight for real. Can't wait to start flying first class. Right, baby? Very soon. We'll soon be able to afford that. We claim it for our future. I've only I've only flown first class once in my life. That was quite an experience. That was a trip that was returning from Europe to Jamaica, and a flight from Belgium on TUI Airlines. We want to make that more of a standard in the future, you know? One day. You have quality already? I'm so good at this. Do we have quilts? Nice work. Help us out, people. Help us out. We're stuck, guys. It's always like a really obvious word. Can I buy a bowl? I'm just gonna try things. I have no idea. Wow, till? What is till? It's colloquial. That's so not an English word. Imagine it rains as we're leaving Medellin. That's so funny. So I still have 2,000 Colombian pesos left. Let's just say this is the reason for me to come back to Medellin. Or come back to Colombia. Maybe Cartagena next, Bogota, Cali. Which Colombian city do you guys think we should visit next? Tell me in the comments. Say bye-bye Medellin. Bye-bye Colombia. I feel like we were in the air for like 10 minutes and then we landed. We landed at 8:27 and if our flight is on time, it's leaving at 9:12, which means it's probably already boarding, so we have to hustle to get to the gate. We are at gate 103 and this is gate 140, so we have a ways to go. Oh, we're here. And yes, they are boarding. We made it. Okay, so the next topic is food. Chicharron, 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 chicharron. And cheese, cheese, and more cheese. Paisas love cheese, but they also eat a lot of pork, a lot of chicharron. Chicharron is fried pork belly, and it's a part of their local specialty, which is called bandeja. in Medellin is bandeja paisa. It includes rice, beans, chicken, different types of protein, but chicharron is a staple. I tried it. It's okay, but I'm not a fan of pork, and I'm also not a fan of fried food. Yeah, of course I love a good fried chicken, but you know, I'm trying to be a lot more healthy. But if you walk the streets of El Poblado or even Laureles at night, you're gonna see so much meat. There's just meat everywhere. Meat. They eat a lot of meat in Latin America, I think, in general, and also in Medellin, in Colombia, they eat a lot of pork. And the reason for that is because their ancestors, their Jewish ancestors, ironically, were not supposed to eat pork. So when the Jews were brought here, they were easily identified by the Catholics because they don't eat pork. But because of that, they did the opposite. They ate a lot of pork so that the Catholics would know that they were Jewish. Interesting, right? Just from those days until now, the people eat a lot of pork. Now, the king and queen of fried food in Medellin are la empanada, el buñuelo. I've tried both of those. They're both great. You'll see empanadas and buñuelo all over every local restaurant or street food vendor. You'll also see tons of arepa. They eat arepa any time of day, morning, noon, and night. Arepa with cheese, arepa with meat, arepa with avocado. So there are different types of arepa. You have the maize or the corn arepa, and then you have the arepa xoxo, which is basically made from more of a sweet corn, so it has more of a sweet flavor, whilst the regular maize or corn arepa is more bland. Yeah, that's the white one. The arepa xoxo is the yellow one. That's the one that has the sweet flavor. As far as the restaurants and cafes, they have a wide variety in Medellin. You can't go wrong. Buenos dias. Peruvian, Italian, Argentine. Gracias. And cafes as well. They have a lot of cafes in Medellin. You name it. So food, there's a lot of variety. However, and we got sick several times on this trip, and I don't know what it is, but something about the food, or is it that our stomachs are sensitive, or is it a combination of both? I'm not too sure what that was about, but in my case, I think there was one point when I had a lot of mushrooms. I think that may have contributed to my stomach issues. My partner, at one point, we had some beef. The beef didn't smell too right. We're really not sure, but obviously there was something going on with the food that we're eating. I don't know if it was the food choices that we were making or what it was, but we definitely had a lot of stomach issues. So I really hope that you don't have the same experience that we did. But besides that, there is a wide variety of food here in Medellin and a wide variety of fruit. Oh, it's such a tropical city, and lots of passion fruit, lots of limes, lemonades, that kind of thing. So hopefully you don't have the same experience we did. Muchas gracias. Alright, we're headed to Curacao now, so I'll see you when we land, and then we're gonna finish off this video by talking about activities, nightlife, and affordability in Medellin. So see you soon. We have made it to Curacao, and I just woke up from a lovely nap. Okay, so next we're gonna talk about activities. So there are a lot of walking tours, free walking tours in the city. You can do community tours, city tours, tours outside of the city, street food tours, and a lot of these free walking tours are hosted by the locals. So that means you get first-hand information on the history of Medellin, the culture of Medellin. I definitely recommend doing at least one walking tour while you're there. The best activities I enjoyed while I was in Medellin, the highlights, parasailing in San Felix. I still can't believe I went parasailing. That was so exciting, so exhilarating. Definitely go ahead and watch that video for more information about the company that I did it with. But highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Another highlight was my trip to Guatapé. Guatapé is a small town outside of Medellin, maybe an hour to an hour and a half outside of Medellin. I always recommend that when you visit a big city, try to get outside of the city, explore the small towns surrounding the city. Always a good experience, and Guatapé was no less. We were able to climb Piedra de Peñol, and explore Guatapé and Peñol, which is also a town outside of Medellin. So that definitely is another highlight, and I highly recommend as well. If you're traveling to Medellin in August, you absolutely must experience La Fiera de las Flores. I may have said that wrong. It's the flower festival in Medellin. The Paisas are so proud of this festival, and they all come out in their colors. It's amazing. It's beautiful. You just have to experience it. It's usually somewhere between the end of July to the beginning of August, and it's a huge festival in the middle of the city. So check out the flower festival if you're in Medellin in August. A few other activities I enjoyed while in Medellin were my visit to Comuna 13, very cultural experience. Lovely to see that colorful community. Oh, and by the way, Guatapé is one of the most colorful towns in the world, so you must visit. Yeah, so Comuna 13, definitely. The metro cable ride to Parque Arvi, that was very nice as well. There are a few things that I didn't get to do while I was in Medellin, like salsa dancing. That's a must, right? Try to do salsa dancing while you're there. Museums, the aquarium. But just remember, there is way more to Medellin than El Poblado or Laureles. So get out of the city and explore. Hopping into our taxi now to head to our Airbnb in Curacao. Next up is the nightlife. Now, Paisas, they know how to partay. They know how to have a good time. I mentioned El Poblado before and Parque Hierbas. Both El Poblado and Laureles have very vibrant and energetic and lively nightlife. So in El Poblado, Parque Hierbas, in Laureles, there's a street called La Setenta. All the excitement, all the energy, all the vibes, all the music, everything you can think of as it relates to a vibrant nightlife, it's there. We dove right into the nightlife on our first night in Medellin without even realizing it, because our flight landed very late. So at about 10 p.m. or 10:30, we set out on the streets of El Poblado looking for food, and I won't lie, it was a bit overwhelming just because there were so many things happening and it's so lively. But if that's something that you're into, and if you're looking for nightlife vibes, you're bound to have a good time. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about is how affordable Medellin is, which is probably my favorite part about the city. I thought when we went to Guatemala last year that Guatemala was super affordable. Medellin is no less. Everything is extremely affordable, especially if you're coming from a place like the United States or Europe or even the UK. It's so affordable. Or even if you're coming from the Caribbean like myself, the Colombian pesos is the currency, and when converted to the United States dollars, it's about 4,000 Colombian pesos to $1 United States dollars. So to give you some context as to what the currency is like, I recommend you change your US dollars or whatever foreign currency you have at the cambio, either at the airport or in the cambios all over the city, in El Poblado, in Laureles, in the malls, or at the banks. But change your foreign currency into the Colombian pesos, and as you go along your daily activities, use the Colombian pesos instead of your US dollars or any other currency that you might have. It will work out way more budget friendly that way, and your money, your budget will spread really far. Interestingly, I've come to understand that Medellin is actually one of the most expensive cities in Colombia. You know, I do realize that it tends to be really affordable in Latin America in general. Like I said, Guatemala was also very affordable, but Medellin is, according to the locals, one of the most expensive cities. It is number 2 ahead of Bogota, which is number 3, and Cartagena is the most expensive city. Yeah, so overall we had a great trip in Medellin, and you have no excuse not to visit. Wherever you're coming from, I'm sure you're going to have a good time, a great time. I really hope that all of these tips and these thoughts of mine were helpful and gave you some insight as to what to expect when you visit Medellin. We have made it home. Thank you so much for traveling with me, and thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some good information about what to expect when you visit Medellin. I also hope you enjoyed my Medellin travel series, because this also wraps up the Medellin Colombia travel series. If you haven't seen the other videos in the series yet, go ahead and watch those. Give me a like if you like each video. Give me a like on this video if you like it, and leave me a comment. Let me know what was your favorite part. Thanks again so much for watching. Thank you for all the support with this Medellin Colombia series, and until the next one, take care.